እንደምናላችሁ ዛሬ ሀያት ሪጀንሲ ሆቴል እንገኛለን ስማርት ፊልም ፌስ ላይ ተጋባዦኝ ነው የመጣሁት በጣም ቆንጆ ጊዜ እንደሚኖር አስባለሁ ፓኔል ዲስከሽን ይኖረናል ስለ ስቶሪ ቴሊንግ በተለይም ደግሞ ታሪኮችን እንዴት አድርገን ነው ለሌሎች ሰዎች መንገር ያለብን ፊልም ሜከሮችን ከሆኑ ምን አይነት ፊልም ነው ለሶሳይቲው መስራት ያለባቸውና ከዳጊሾም ጋር በተገናኘ ያው እንደምታውቁትኛ ሶሻል ኢሹዎች ላይ ነው የምንሰራው ስቶሪ ቴሊንግ ላይ ነው የምንሰራው የተሻለ ነገር ለመፍጠር የተሻለ አላማ ያለው ትውልድ ለመፍጠር ሀገርን መረከብ የሚችል ትውልድ ለመፍጠር ነው እየሰራን ያለነውና የስማርት ፊልም ፌስትም ሐሳብ ከኛ ከዳጊሾ ሐሳብ ጋር በጣም የሚገናኝ ሆኖ ስላገኘ ነው ዛሬ እንግዲህ ቆንጆ የሆነ ፓኔል ዲስከሽን ይኖረናል በያስባለሁ የተሻሉ ታሪኮችን ኢንቴንሽናሊ እንዴት ነው ለሰዎች ማድረስ የምንችለው የሚለው ላይ ነው የምንወያየው አብራችሁን ቆዩ Thank you so much. You guys know? Yeah. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you all for joining us. Although, as you said, we thought this was the last panel, but it's not the end. But it is storytelling for social change and impact. And my name is Metaseria. I'm the founder of Design Week Addis Ababa, Ethiopia's first festival for the creative sector. Today we have Maritz of the Dagi Show, who's also an international business lawyer, is using her experiences as a lawyer and a daughter to bring powerful storytelling to all of us.
So, as she explained, my name is Maritz. Professionally, I'm an international business lawyer, but I have a talk show called Dagi Show on EBS. So when I was coming here today, because I think storytelling is very important, and I'm so glad to be here, because we all need to change the narrative. Like in our culture, for example, like when it comes to women, like women cannot do this, girls are not able to do this. When I started doing Dagi Show, the reason I was doing it is I wanted to know, like I wanted everybody to know they are capable of doing anything they want. If they put their minds up to it, regardless of their background, regardless of their support system, regardless of their living situation, or even educational status. So when we tell stories, for example, on our show, what we do is we bring people who made it, who are self-made, who never had any kind of support system, who didn't come from money, or who nobody would think they would make it in this life. And also when we do storytelling, there is a misconception here. It's like making it means being rich or making it only financially. And our aim on our show is to actually make a difference in people's mindset, so that we can actually raise a generation who can take over our country, who believe in themselves, who can think they can make it on their own, who don't give up just because they fail twice, 3 times, 10 times. Including my story, and I'll tell you later on about me, but I think we all have the potential. We are very blessed to be Ethiopians, to be born here, as long as like we can explore what we actually have at hand, instead of hoping we would find that contentness or that success outside of our country or abroad, because it's another misconception of the stories we've been watching, the movies we have been watching. We've been brainwashed since we were little boys and girls, saying the Western world is better than our own home. So for me, I just want to give people hope that it's possible, it can be done, regardless of whoever is telling us otherwise. And some people, when they tell story, like he said, on TikTok or Instagram, in different platforms, we completely get a wrong idea, and we seem to be very into it. And my aim is, as long as I do the show or in other sectors, to actually avoid negative intentions, even watching negative movies, watching a lot of killings on the movies, or like it's making us hate who we are, where we are right now at the present moment, and we keep wishing to be somewhere else and make it. But this is where we belong, and I think we can make it here as long as everybody's telling the right story. For me, this digital media, social media is a blessing in disguise. Of course, like media is power, and we can get so much information out of it. We can improve ourselves, we can change our lifestyle, and so much more. But also, we are not intentional. Most of us are not intentional when we check out our social media, when we see our Instagram or Facebook. We're not intentional about the information we're trying to find. Rather than us trying to find what we want on social media, we let the social media guide us. We let the news guide us. We let the posts guide us. Most young people right now are valuing themselves by the number of followers they have on Instagram. Oh, somebody has 20,000 followers. Oh, someone has 100,000 followers. So even like when we are posting or when we are trying to use it, later alone consume other information from it, what is our goal? Our goal is finding more followers. Then what? Okay, we have more followers. So what? What's gonna happen when we have more followers? What are we trying to achieve by having more followers? And I see so many young people complaining about them not having enough followers, even though they are posting a lot of content. So social media, if we really don't control our minds, because our mind controls us most of the time, 90% of the time, our thoughts are controlling us. So whatever we read, whatever video we see on social media, we take it for the face value. In our country, like never before, we have come to the point of people torturing people and killing people on social media, recording it, and to the point of then posting the video. Can you imagine what that means? So what happens is some people would watch that, then they get angry. This tribe, some Amhara tribe is killed, Oromo is killed, or Tigrayan is killed. So this is actually creating more difference between us as a country. It caused so much rage for us, for so many people. I see people getting pissed and angry and crying because of the news they see on social media. So if we really, really want to improve ourselves, or if we want to get the right information, let's not let the social media lead us. Instead, let's be intentional about what we're trying to get out of it. We shouldn't let everything we see on social media get to us. We cannot get emotional or upset about everything. And like he said, once we get the information, we have to be sure if it's worth sharing before we send it to someone, before we forward it to someone. So if we are smart enough, we can actually use the social media for our own benefit, for our society, for the country, for the betterment of everything. But if we are not that smart, we can let it destroy us and our family and our country and the generation too. Thank you so much.
So as I mentioned in my introduction, all of my films I have made, I love your word, intentional. I have been very intentional with my films to not just be a storyteller. And as I answer your question, I don't want to just tell my story, but I want to encourage you and inspire you how to tell your stories. whether it's with a cell phone, whether it's with a TV camera or a film camera, whatever you're making, you have so much power. How many of you guys know people who want to go to America? I think everybody. And when you think in your mind why you want to go to America, there's a reason. And it usually has to do with opportunity or money. It's the land of great things. As I mentioned about my story, I grew up in America, and America is a land of opportunity, but it's also a land of a lot of other things that I personally experienced. And what makes people want to come to America or to the West is because of what you've seen in movies, what you've seen on the news, what you've seen on television. So you guys are empowered to create a story, not only for yourselves, for your people, but for the world. So in my introduction, I kind of already answered what I've done through all of my films. You can see my films, like I said, on Netflix or Amazon. But all of my films for entertainment purposes, because first and foremost, it's entertainment. Film and TV are primarily for entertainment, and a lot of times people don't watch it for education unless it's a documentary. So your first thing is to entertain. But my challenge to you and what I inspire you to do is not just tell a story because it's cool, because it's interesting, but to think of it as, she said, intentional, and how can I empower myself, my people, this story. So say, for example, you find out there's an amazing story between a guy named Bob and a girl named Sue, and that's what you want to tell the story as, and they have an incredible story. That's fine, but you can also incorporate in that story the backdrop of Ethiopia, Ethiopian music, Ethiopian dance, and actually make it sexy so people want to come here. Again, I grew up in the hip-hop era, and everybody now wants to follow hip-hop culture. Hip-hop culture is the leading culture of the world, but yet the hip-hoppers are the most poorest people in the world, and I'm here to tell the truth. I grew up in that culture. Other than the big, huge rap stars, there's not any money. There's a lot of killing. There's a lot of bad things, but it's made to look sexy. So I'm here to say you can turn that around and make your culture and make people want to come to Ethiopia, empower yourselves, and that will bring economy to Ethiopia, that will bring tourism to Ethiopia, and that'll make people then say, hey, let us bring our money there. Let us get their brands. You guys have so much power, so I just want to keep repeating that to encourage you that film and TV is the most incredible power in the world to influence people, so you have the power in your hands to do that.
For me, like I said earlier, story making is very important because human beings, we all have stories. We have childhood story, we have stories when we are adults, our family have story, where we came from, our great-grandmothers, grandfathers, our history, Ethiopian history, you know, like from years ago, from decades ago, centuries ago. We have so much history to tell, but we have to really be careful about the narrative. That is where we all are failing, I believe. Even our filmmakers or people who are deciding to share their stories. We just, like I said earlier, I really want, intention is very important for me again. So when we show that, if we want the Westerns to know Ethiopia, how do we tell our story? You know, okay, Ethiopia has never, we are the only African countries who has never been colonized. That's an amazing story. How do we tell that story? How independent are we? How proud are we of our culture? How proud are we of ourselves as an individual? What can we contribute to the society? So I think when someone decides to be a filmmaker or a storyteller, that person needs to know the intention. What is behind? What is the motive of telling that story? To be honest, if that story is not gonna motivate anyone, if that story is not gonna touch people's lives, we shouldn't do it. We might as well not do it, because that means our intentions are not right. or maybe we don't know our intentions clearly. So when we tell stories, we know it will reach so many people. We know so many young people are going to watch those stories, those movies, those documentaries. So all I'm saying is, let's be intentional about the stories, because let's remember the kind of stories we get from our parents, the stories we get from so let's not give the bad stories to the next generation. When I say the bad stories that wouldn't motivate, stories that wouldn't change people's lives are not important story even to be told, I believe. That's what I have to say.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you. እንዴት ናችሁ ተመልካቾቼ ፎሎወሮቼ እና አድናቂዎቼ ዛሬ ከስማርት ፊልም ፌስት ጨርሼ እየወጣሁኝ ነው በጣም ቆንጆ የሆነ ፓኔል ዲስከሽን ነበረን በጣም ለወጣቱ የሚጠቅም ለፊልም ሜከሮች የሚጠቅምና ስቶሪ ቴሊንግ ግን ደግሞ ወይም ታሪክን መንገር በሚገባ መልኩ ኢንቴንሽናችንን በትክክል አስተካክለን ታሪክ ስናወራ ስቶሪ ስንነገር በምን መልኩ ነው መናገር ያለብን ለጀነሬሽኑ የሚጠቅም ለሀገር የሚጠቅም ለቤተሰብ የሚጠቅም ስቶሪዎችን እንዴት አሳምረን መናገር እንዳለብን ተነጋግረናልና በጣም ቆንጆ የነበረ ጊዜ ነው እንደዚህ አይነት ፌስቲቫሎች ወደፊቱም በደንብ መቀጠል አለባቸው በያምናለሁ እኔ ግን በበኩሌ በጣም አሜዚንግ ታይም ነበረኝ እንደምትወዱት አምናለሁ መልካም ጊዜ